Hello, internet friends. It's after work, and I am Patrick. It is 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, and I am out on time, which is great. I only, as a consequence of that, I only saw 3 people today, but that's okay. There was some changes in the caseload, been moving some patients from person to person for reasons logistical and otherwise. So I got to meet a couple of new patients, and I got to give away a couple of former patients, and as a result, I only saw 3 people today, but I have a lot of paperwork to catch up on, so that is what I'll be doing after work. I'll be doing some paperwork. I got a letter from SHU today, and I thought it was the plan of study I'd requested about a week ago, but instead it was a letter from the dean informing me that I am on her list, which in this case is a good thing, being on the dean's list. It's apparently sought after. They didn't tell me what my GPA was, but they said it had to be above 3.6 to get on the dean's list. I suspect mine was a little closer to 3.8 or 3.9. I've gotten a couple of B's so far. It's been mostly A's, so it's probably pretty high up there. And there's only 2 weeks left in research methods. Our class of original class size of 14 is down to 7, and some of the teams for the team assignments are down to 2 people out of 5. Where it was 5 originally. And my assignment due next week is a critique of a qualitative study. Last week it was a critique of a quantitative study, which I think I did okay on, except for one spelling error that I didn't notice until after I submitted the paper. The word that I misspelled was glycolysis, which I should really teach to my spell check, because I gotta download one of those. I know I've suggested one to other people. There's plug-in packs for your dictionary spell checker that you can get that contains medical terminology and things. I should really install one of those, because most of the writing that I do that is spell checked is mostly medical terminology, so it might be something I should look into. But let's see, what was the critique that I did for the quantitative analysis was some study on using a video phone motivational interviewing intervention for people with uncontrolled diabetes who are older adults in rural areas. And we had to kind of go through the article and kind of pick it apart and say that this was reasonable and this was not reasonable. I'm surprised at how many quantitative studies I find that have no hypothesis and no research question. I don't know why that could possibly be. It doesn't seem reasonable, I mean, it's clear from reading the intro that the author believes that the intervention is effective, so it's only a small extra step to say, I hypothesize that this intervention will be effective, but so many of them don't. Some other problems with this particular study that I was reading was that it was it was a convenience sample, and they were kind of limited by the fact that they only had 2 nurse practitioners that, for one thing, took the same motivational interviewing class, and 2 worked at the same telemedicine company, and 3 had strong relationships with the 3 referring physicians for the study. So, they were kind of limited in how many people they could analyze, and then, the experimental group got that experimental intervention with motivational interviewing and the diabetes self-management support services and stuff like that. And then the comparison group also got, instead of getting a 15-minute video phone call, they got a 5-minute video phone call where a registered nurse read to them from a script, as opposed to a nurse practitioner actually counseling them. And it really seems like it wasn't really an apples to apples comparison, and I think there was a little bit of a selection bias in play because of how they picked the convenience sample, I guess. We'll see what I did. The critique clocked in at 7 pages, which an embarrassingly large portion of that was taken up by my synopsis of the study, so hopefully I don't lose too many points for that. But I haven't picked an article for the qualitative one yet. But qualitative research just seems so goofy to me. Instead of striving for large sample sizes, like a sample size of 10,000 would be really good, right? All the qualitative studies that I've read have sample sizes of like 10 or 12 or 30 on the high end. And instead of like taking some kind of objective measurement of something that's going on, it's all like analysis of people's reports of their experience in search of common themes and stuff. And I mean, I guess I could see how that would help people kind of generalize an intellectual understanding of some kind of phenomenon they're interested in studying, but what's the utility of it, Like, is the goal for, say, 100,000 nurses to read this article and operationalize some kind of model in their head for what people go through when they face the decision to start hemodialysis? Because I don't know. I mean, it seems to me that people should be able to come up with these kinds of things on their own through experience, and if they don't have that understanding through experience, showing somebody a list of common themes, I don't know. I just don't know how helpful that is. And then like that kind of research is the jumping off point for more research where they ask larger groups of people how they feel about this thing, I don't know. It seems kind of goofy to me. But then I'm also not like entirely convinced about the actual importance of nursing theory for actual nursing care. I mean, it seems like theories of nursing just exist to make the discipline of nursing seem academically respectable to scientists in other fields, which I guess is important, but doesn't really help you much when you're at the bedside, and that is kind of what I'm doing. So, I don't know. I guess it's all part of like adopting this new role as a clinical nursing leader. I need to be able to read research and understand it and apply it to things. I guess coming up in a few months there's going to be some part of the program where I need a preceptor, so that should be kind of interesting. I'm not sure where I will find a preceptor who's a CNL, because that's a fairly newly developed degree program. The only ones that I know of work in the VA, and we don't even have a VA in my area. But maybe it doesn't have to be a CNL. I might be able to have a preceptor who's a nurse practitioner or something like that. That might fly also. I'm not entirely sure. I'll worry about it when I get there. I really should have asked for more vacation days off. I'm starting to get a little tired. I've got a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got a nice 6-day weekend coming up in July that I'm looking forward to. But I kind of missed the boat when they called for requests for summer vacation days. I'll have to get on that, because I think June is all pretty well spoken for. I'll have to do a little looking around. What else is going on? I had the happy occasion of discharging a patient. That was really nice. Don't usually get to do that except the discharge upstairs method. But I'm always stuck figuring out how many details I can give about somebody and still comply with our brand new social media policy. Yes, we have a social media policy now. It means we must be all very nice boys and girls and not say anything that might upset someone, which is, of course, from their perspective necessary, from my perspective complete nonsense. But I had a patient that, when I met this person, they were not doing very well. And, over the course of getting to know this person over a few months, they were getting better and better to the point where there was no longer a skilled need for nursing, which puts us in a tricky position, because if there's no skilled need for nursing, then Medicare will not pay for nurses to come out and visit. But because of the improvement in this particular person's condition, the skilled need was not nursing but physical therapy, because the physical mobility status and all that stuff was improving and getting better and better and stuff. So that was a really happy occasion to be able to shrug and say, look, I'm not really doing much for you. Let's sign you up for some rigorous exercises. How does that sound? Which, of course, this person was all gung-ho about, and that'll be good. But that's neat. That's not a usual experience for me. When a patient is discharged in my caseload, not course load, it usually means that somebody has died. So seeing the alternative for a change was kind of cool. I just got an email that I'm getting another new patient today, but thankfully I'm off this weekend, so I won't have to stop by and see them until after the weekend, which is very nice. Whew, it's getting hot, summertime. Of course, the fact that I'm drinking a hot coffee doesn't help either. So this evening I'm going to a fundraiser for a new bookstore. For a while there were no bookstores around here. All the bookstores in the malls closed, and all of the corporate chain bookstores closed down, and from where I live you'd have to actually drive 20 minutes to get to a bookstore. But a friend of mine is opening an independent bookstore right in our hometown, and he was telling me some really interesting stuff about it. Like, there's this alliance of independent bookstores that have this deal where you can get your own customized iPhone/Android app that lets you buy ebooks directly from the publishers, but instead of the money going to Amazon, the money goes to the independent bookstore. So that's like a really cool idea, I think, because I've been eating up the ebooks. After a long break of not reading fiction, I went back to reading fiction because the Borders that was near us went out of business. So I just pillaged their sci-fi section and got back into reading fiction again. And then there was this book that I was rereading. I don't know if I already told this story before. Maybe I did, but what else are you gonna do? So I'll tell it again. I was reading this book, Cryptonomicon, by Neal Stephenson, which I really enjoyed the first time I read it, and like a lot of the books I enjoy, I gave my copy away, so I got a new copy. And then I was reading it at the bar, and it was on like a little table, and I got up to go to the bathroom, and when I came back, somebody had puked all over it. And I was furious, because I was like a third of the way through the book, and it was like, it was really good, and I was really into it. So I threw the book down on the floor in disgust and pretended it didn't exist. But ever since then, I've been reading ebooks exclusively, and it's turning into like a really dangerous habit. I'm like burning through 3 or 4 $10 novels a week, maybe. It's quite an expense for somebody who's about to make a down payment on a mortgage. But it's been great. I can read anywhere, standing in line or wherever I happen to be. I can just pull out my phone and read. Lately I've been really into Vernor Vinge, and I blew through everything that he's written that you can get online in a couple of weeks or so, which isn't much, unfortunately, just a few novels. And then really disappointed when I ran out of Vernor Vinge to read, that's for sure. And then I read everything by Charles Stross I hadn't already read, and then I read everything by Rudy Rucker I hadn't already read. Read everything by Cory Doctorow and Neal Stephenson I hadn't already read, and then I was kind of stuck. I didn't know where to go next. So the recommendation engine for Amazon suggested I start reading Heinlein next, which kind of surprised me because I've been meaning to read books by Heinlein, but I'd never really gotten around to it. And sure enough, they're fantastic. I think in the last week I've read 5 or 6 Heinlein novels. They're a little shorter than I'm used to. I'm not sure exactly how many pages they clock in at, but finally got around to reading the Foundation trilogy by Asimov. Things like that. kind of hard to balance work and school and leisure activities. It seems like the leisure activities win out most of the time when I'm not, at work doing things that I have to do for money, But even still, when I go to Subway to grab a bite to eat in the middle of my day, I'll pull that phone out and, read a chapter or something. So I'm curious to see whether or not this video complies with my agency's social media policy. If you don't see any more videos from me, you'll know what happened. I got kind of a cold feeling when I read it, because I remember all the problems I had at my last job, which didn't have a social media policy, but they made one for my benefit. I understand people needing to cover their butts, but I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of benefit to people involved in the healthcare delivery system telling their stories in a constructive way and sharing information, and these policies explain in great detail what you can't do, but they really don't address what you can do and how you should do it, because I think, even today, people in general haven't come to the understanding that this isn't just a fad, this is kind of an evolution in media, and it's kind of bigger than their policies. We'll see how it goes. Have a good weekend.